Yeah, back, John. Here we are, violists reporting from Hong Kong.
Hello.
We just finished a rehearsal of Brahms' Opus 111.
Yes, we did.
To viola quintet, and we're going to a very fancy hotel.
Very fancy.
Very fancy. And we are going to try a ton of violins.
Which are also very fancy.
They have a couple violas. Two. I think an Amati and a Testore.
Yes.
So that's pretty fancy. This is from Beare's in London.
Yes. And 12 violins.
We get to play the violin.
Yes, trad, violin,
Let's
viola,
go.
violation.
Should we go cause some trouble?
Let's do it.
Look who we picked up along the way. So-ock Kim.
Hello.
Hi. You're gonna help us find the hotel?
Yes, except I don't know where we are. Which way? Yeah, that's right.
Have you tried the instruments?
I have.
You helped bring them over, right?
Yes, I did.
Because you're actually connected with Beare's.
Yes. Well, my husband is the owner, but I also run the Beare's International Violin Society, where we facilitate loans to musicians, from students to performers of all levels. So, yeah.
Excellent, nice.
That's what I do.
So we can just pick up a couple of these and take them home?
We have to ask the owners first.
All right.
Musicians, people who are looking are always welcome to come and visit us and to try the collection. We always have different things all the time.
That's great.
And yeah, we're also happy to meet people if we're traveling as well.
Nice.
So yeah.
Okay, here we go. We're in the Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian elevator.
Okay, and
It smells nice in here.
it does. That's
Cigar
me.
smell.
That's me.
It's cigar?
No, it's
No, it's the Mandalorian smell.
It's the viola.
I can smell the violas coming.
Does it smell like viola in here?
It's so awful. The reality is, she's like, yes, it does. And I'm leaving the
Hello. Hi, Robert. I've just brought our two violists.
Hi, good to see you. How are you doing?
All right. How are you?
Yeah, very well.
Good
Good
to
to
see
see you.
How are you?
Hi there, nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
you. Can you tell us who you are?
I am Robert Brewer Young, a violin viola maker and also cello maker.
You should have started with viola. You should have said, I'm a viola.
I'm a
And
viola
violin.
maker and also make violins and
Excellent.
cellos.
Thank you.
Really wonderful, thank you.
The viola is the most interesting instrument to make as a maker.
Is
Do you
for
really
sure.
feel that way?
I sincerely.
It's
I'm
inter-
not saying it just for
Interesting is a loaded.
you. So let's
word.
use a different word. The most compelling, the most exciting, the most diverse. The
Between
viola does
15
that.
to 18 inches
Yeah, yeah.
and every type of sound.
Yeah, I mean, for me
So-
as a maker, it's super exciting because of the many possible voices that it represents.
And there's no one right answer
No one
for
right.
how
all
the
of
viola
them
should
are
be.
legitimate.
Uh-huh.
People go through their careers with different tastes and explorations, and it's thrilling.
How many different models of viola have you made?
Many.
You've made many?
Many.
So you
many,
love
many.
experimenting
yes,
with
tenor
that?
viola I made.
Oh,
Had to try
yeah.
it, and so I made that and set it up Baroque. I made one for Harvard actually for their permanent collection. 17 inches, 15 and a half.
Oh, wonderful.
Many different things.
That must be really...
And then I've learned from some great violists. I worked with Richard O'Neill a lot.
Oh, yeah, wonderful.
And I made a kind of race car quad model viola for him.
Oh, nice.
And he taught me about a whole category of voice, I would say, in the viola. That was
Yeah.
quite soloistic and exciting.
Wow.
And, yeah,
It is soloistic and exciting.
it's exciting. I love the viola.
Okay. You don't.
Also,
it's not
possible
that you're-
wood choices. There are more possible wood choices.
for viola than for violin.
Yes.
Oh, why?
Far more.
Oh, really?
Because you can use poplar, willow, other woods
Yeah.
that you can also use in cello. But I feel like there's more possibilities for exploration, and historically in violas, there's a lot of different woods that have been used.
Interesting.
Because we just don't care.
Because people are in a constant state of creative exploration
Yeah.
of the voice.
There you go.
That's a really that's
That-
wonderfully put.
that was-
I'm also in a constant state of creative exploration
There
of
we
that
go.
voice.
Yeah.
Uncertainly exploring. But that's it's nice to hear that. That's really fascinating.
It's
Yeah, I
exciting.
didn't- I didn't
it's
know
exciting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the viola is really deeply interesting and perpetually unsatisfying in the best sense.
No, I understand that. Yeah, because there is no perfect solution
Yeah, yeah.
for the acoustics of the viola.
Hello. do you want to tell us who you are?
I'm Stephen Smith from I'm the MD of Beare's in London, and we're we're having a great time with all you guys here.
Yeah.
With all our instruments and fantastic concerts.
We have some fabulous instruments in the room, don't we?
We do. It's nice. It's a lovely C string.
What have you got?
It's very pretty. I love the C string. Yeah.
And what are you playing now?
I play a modern instrument that was made for me by Frank Ravatin.
Okay, I thought that when I saw it on stage, I thought that was probably his.
It's Frank, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually modeled after the Tekler viola and the Cité de la Musique Museum
Yeah.
that he liked, and I like that too. So it's not exactly a copy of that, but it's
Okay.
a model. It's a Tekler model.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a chance to work with him a few years
I
ago.
love him. He's just such a
incredible.
lovely man.
He's fab.
What year is that? How old is
19. 16, 19.
Really. I mean, the delicacy of the chambre as well is so remarkable. I often study scrolls to try to figure out how many gouges they used.
How many?
Yeah.
different gauges of gouge?
Yeah, and I mean, you can see, you know, a lot of the artifacts of the tooling here. So there's one gouge that he used a lot. So it's a question, is the gouge that was used to make this line the same one that was used to make the carving in?
Uh-huh.
And it looks very much to be the same size. Sometimes you see something slightly different
Yeah.
there. It's really, I'm convinced that a minimal number of gouges were used by great Italian makers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like maybe 3, and what kind of tool it was it flat, shaped like a fingernail?
And do you think he kept that tool for the bulk of his career?
I think
it
there was a
last?
terms of, it was like a concept of efficient methodology,
Mm-hmm.
and if you've got one good sharp tool and can use it for a lot of things and have a concept of what kind of sculpture you want, being able to use it with a fewer number of tools can be good.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you see modern makers with like 17 gouges and they'll use one thing for one and ends
Yeah.
up looking overworked sometimes.
Ah.
But this line, just this incredibly thin chamfer sculpted with one pass of the gouge, seems to be the same one that's then going in.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case, it seems.
For both the outside and the inside.
Yeah.
Because it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this gesture and this gesture. And then I was trying to do a study on whether makers were right-handed or left-handed.
Oh, can you tell?
Yeah.
I'm looking into it, and but quite often, when you're working on a scroll, if you're left-handed, you'll work. There's some indications when you're working on one side versus the other.
But you
you
don't see it
imagine-
if you're right-handed as much?
No, you would just see a different
Different.
gesture, because this would be a different sort of movement on this side than this side.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if there was some way we could indicate whether someone's right-handed or left-handed based on.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
It's kind of a far-fetched
A little
exploration,
subjective, right,
but
Yeah.
this is magnificent.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing me this. I love it. Have you had this for long?
About 10 years. 11
I've had it
years.
for a while, right?
Yeah, yeah.
May I see your Ravatin?
Sure, of course. This is from a matched set that he
Yes.
made for the quartet.
Right. I remember hearing that story. I was actually in Oberlin when he was working on
Oh,
that.
right.
So I saw these instruments in the white.
You did?
Yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I remember that was a really exciting project. I love the way it's aged, actually. This is really beautiful.
And he definitely encourages all of that. For us who are traveling a lot,
Right?
it's so, I mean, this is such a healthy instrument.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really go out of tune. It handles the weather changes really, 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 really well, which we have so many of. I mean,
Right.
it's you know, we just came from the States where it was cold and dry, and now we're here and it's actually fairly warm and wet.
And it's doing well.
It's just fine. What have you done most recently with models and shapes and proportions and things like
At
that?
the moment, I'm making another quad model viola for someone, and also work on a very large model viola, so like 16 3/4. And Amihai from the Berlin Phil,
Yes, I know.
he was
Okay.
borrowing an instrument of mine, a smaller one, for a year, and he
Yeah.
was really pushing me to do a large model
A
for
large
him
one.
and his clients
Yeah.
and his colleagues. And I mean, it's fascinating. And then Jonathan Vinocourt from the San Francisco Symphony.
Yeah.
I made for him a just kind of classical Amati, 16¼ model viola. But there's so much to do with the viola.
And there's so many choices.
It's thrilling.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
I'm glad you're excited by that. From the flip side, do you sometimes feel making violins is just a little too restrictive? You just feel like people are expecting certain standard patterns or certain standard... Like you can't be... You just feel like you can't be as creative as you would like?
And also the cult of the soloist is so highly developed in the world of the violin.
Yes.
Whereas in the world of the viola, if I may say, the cult of conversation is quite highly developed.
I think that's true.
And
I won't disagree with that statement.
But that conversation for me as a maker is really interesting.
I love the voice of the viola in the quartet because it also, the contrasts of whether you're playing with cello or playing with violin, it highlights different parts of the viola's possibility that as much as we have that possibility playing solo or even recital or even just unaccompanied Bach, like it's that contrast of the other related string sound that's different.
Yes. And variable.
And variable.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. I mean, and then of course viola, there's the element of it bringing disparate voices together, for example, in the quartet, and also highlighting
or dancing with different ones.
Exactly, and separating itself too. I mean, it's a fun world. Fun world. I'm glad you enjoy exploring that sonic world.
No, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. And then just, I mean, even rib height. I work with Peter Greiner in London, and he's got a very defined model. You know, it's very high ribs, and he's looking for something quite particular. And I like his work a lot. And he's like, when you're making instruments, you're schizophrenic. And I was like, it's not schizophrenic at all. I just have this kind of larger set of curiosities, maybe. And
here's a question for you. So when you're making a viola, for example, you're thinking of exploring something different or something new, are you starting from the conceptual? Are you starting with the wood you've found and then matching your concept to what the wood is? I mean, are you starting with the physical? Are you starting with the conceptual? How does it work for you?
I mean, I generally think that a successful instrument is a successful dialogue between four elements: the maker, the model, musician, and the material. And how do those come together? So the conceptual aspect of design in the model is, of course, critically important. But all of those elements seem to have kind of equal weight.
Nice viola. This is a Brothers Amati. Look at this.
So that's the Amati?
It's the-
Different than the Testore. I took my shoulder rest off if you want shoulder rest.
Yeah, I think I'm okay for now. Back the right way. So this is now the Testore. What was Testore City? Was it Bologna?
Milano.
Milan. Okay. In it, doesn't it?
It's very different. They're both so different.
Very different.
The two violas
Are just so different.
Yeah, it's so different, and just the life that they've had, and also just the quality of the instruments that they are. You know, it's almost, they're both violas, but they're almost not even related to each other, in my opinion. They just are such a different character of instrument.
Yeah.
Both.
Right.
That's surprising. Like that's the thing I think we forget. Is that, just as he said, there is just so much variation in violas.
Yes.
And possibility in viola.
What I think is kind of cool is that we went in there thinking one thing, that we were going to be trying out a whole bunch of violins,
Right.
and having like a day that's like, wah, wah, wah. Oh, that's cool, but you know.
Yeah, right.
But to really actually get to know those two instruments and try them out, it's a rare experience.
It's a very rare experience. And both of them really being maintained to perhaps their like best peak level, which
Right.
I think is really interesting to explore and discuss.
Like two violas that have been tried out and set up for optimal sound, right? And looks.
And both very different optimal sounds and qualities.
I learned a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And about my own instrument even, just hearing him talk about because he saw my instrument when it was in the light, which I thought was amazing. Did you hear him say that?
I didn't hear
Yes,
that.
he actually saw the matched quartet that my instrument was a set of,
Yeah.
while Frank was actually making it in the white. So it was just fascinating to hear that kind of experience.
It's like he's seeing an old friend.
Yeah, in a way. And it is funny how there's always that layer of like fear when you go see nice violas. It's just gonna not be it's gonna be disappointing. I mean, I probably shouldn't tell this story on camera, but I'm happy to. I mean, the worst viola I think I've ever played, the worst, most expensive viola I've ever played, is the Strad in the Royal Palace in Madrid. Did you ever play those? Those concerts? Yeah. So when we played at the Quartet Recital Series, they require you to use those Strads.
Yeah.
And the cello's amazing, the violins are amazing, and the viola is super valuable because it was made by Stradivarius for the King of Spain.
And it's decorated.
It's decorated, it's beautifully inlaid with all kinds of ebony and painted with gold.
So like $30 million and
It's probably the most expensive instrument, and it sounds like a kazoo.
Yeah.
And they had just got it reset up and refinished.
Oh, no.
Like, it's perfect. It should be the best it's ever sounded. Literally, we were playing Tchaikovsky Quartet, number 1, in the viola solo in the second theme. We were playing it at rehearsal, and my colleagues were laughing. Like, they couldn't play because it sounded so ridiculous.
Right. I love this viola talk on the ferry to Kowloon.
Yeah. You get viola talk where you can fit it in.
Okay.
It's funny how unusual it is to actually get to hang out with violists. I'm
Right.
usually the only one.
Well, yeah, I know the feeling. This is the string quartet dilemma. If you ever see a stray quartet violist, please send them some love because they need it.
They feel lonely, even though they're surrounded by others.
That's right.
Is it
Gentlemen?
welcome.
He called us gentlemen again.
Who's your left one? You.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
How was your lunch?
Hey, guess what we just did?
What? That looks like it's on. There's a
It's on.
red light, unless it's
Yeah.
painted. What did you guys just do?
He's like, turn it off.
We played really expensive violas.
Oh, you went to the viola,
We
viola
did.
exhibition?
We went to the Beare's bedroom.
It was the Beare's bedroom
Oh, it's in this hotel? No, it's in the Mandarin.
in the Mandarin
Oh,
Oriental.
wow. Hi, everybody. I wanted to just tell you, follow, I don't know.
Have a lovely afternoon.
I will see you
Bye bye.
later.
Rest well.
Good afternoon. Have a good rest, everybody.
Okay, guys.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Gary. See you soon.
This is the Testore viola from Beare's, and I decided to play this for the show tonight.
Are you playing a new fiddle for the concert too?
I don't know. I'm
There-
just playing fiddles. A whole bunch of fiddles showed up.
There is
fiddles.
a box of violins. It's just sitting in the corner.
Just sitting there.
Dan, what's in what's in
the
there?
box. Well, we've got a Guarneri del Gesù, Guadagnini. We have a Grancino and an Amati.
Fantastic. Are you gonna play it tonight?
We'll see.
All right.
See if
TBD.
we can actually master these things because we want to feel a little comfortable.
Yeah, tonight is like in about an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. Give it a whirl.
Nice.